Pleasant day to our amazing SDS, Dr. Alejandro Ibanez, to our Assistant Schools Division Superintendent, Mrs. Isabel Sibayan, to the Chief of the CID, Mrs. Loida O. Balasa, the Chief of SGOD, Dr. Gemma Villaluna, to the head of this activity, our EPS in Araling Panlipunan, Ms. Ruth R. Reyes, to all the AP coordinators, master teachers, and of course, our teacher participants. I'm Miss Fresnedi V. Natividad, your PSTS, and I am tasked to discuss with you pedagogical approaches in teaching. Pedagogy is most commonly understood as the approach to teaching is the theory and practice of learning, and how this process influences and is influenced by the social, political, and psychological development of learners. Take as an academic discipline is the study of how knowledge and skills are imparted in an educational context, and it considers the interactions that take place during learning. Both the theory and practice of pedagogy vary greatly as they reflect different social, political, and cultural. Pedagogy is often described as the act of teaching. The pedagogy adopted by the teachers shapes their actions, judgments, and other teaching strategies by taking into consideration theories of learning, understandings of students and their needs, and the backgrounds and interests of individual students. Its aims may range from furthering liberal education, which is the general development of human potential, the narrower specifics of vocational education, which is the imparting and acquisition of specific skills. Conventional Western pedagogies view the teacher as knowledge holder and the student as recipient of knowledge. This is described by Paulo Freire as banking methods, learning goals set by the student and the teacher. But theories of pedagogy gradually identify the student as an agent and the teacher as facilitator. Instructive strategies are governed by pupil's background, knowledge and experience, situation, environment, and learning goals set by the student and the teacher. One example of this would be the Socratic method. Let's talk about some early philosophers and their pedagogical approaches in teaching. First, we have Socrates and his Socratic method. The basic form is a series of questions formulated as tests of logic and fact intended to help a person or group discover their beliefs about some topic. The instructor in this learning environment recognizes the learner's need to think for themselves to facilitate their ability to think about problems and issues. Second is Plato. He describes three castes: one to learn a trade, one to learn literary and aesthetic ideas, one to be trained in literary, aesthetic, scientific, and philosophical ideas. Plato saw education as fulfillment of the soul, and by fulfilling the soul, the body subsequently benefited, and he viewed physical education for all as a necessity to a stable society. Another is Aristotle. He advocated for a common education mandated to all citizens by the state, and today, that principle is embodied in education for all. There are four aspects that are specifically investigated: the integrity of knowledge, the wonder as the beginning of knowledge, oral communication as a specific way of creating knowledge, and knowledge as necessary elements of way of life. Now let's learn and relearn pedagogical approaches, and one of those is critical pedagogy. It is a teaching approach which attempts to help students question and challenge domination and the beliefs and practices that dominate. In other words, it is a theory and practice of helping students achieve critical consciousness. Practices includes listening to and including students' knowledge and perspective in class, making connections between school and broader community, and posing problems to students that encourage them to question assumed knowledge and understandings. The goal of problem posing to students is to enable them to begin to pose their own problems. Teachers acknowledge their position of authority and exhibit this authority through their actions that support students. Now we go to student-centered learning or the learner-centered education. It focuses on instruction from the teacher to the student and focuses on skills and practices that enable lifelong learning and independent problem solving. In modern pedagogy, we have differentiated instruction, and Carol Ann Tomlinson is one of the proponents. She defined differentiated instruction as teachers' efforts in responding to inconsistencies among students in the classroom. Differentiation refers to methods of teaching. She explained that differentiated instruction gives learners a variety of alternatives for acquiring information. The primary principles comprising the structure are formative and ongoing assessment, group collaboration, recognition of students' diverse levels of knowledge, problem solving, and choice in reading and writing experience. Another is multiple intelligences theory, and the proponent is Howard Gardner. It is the proposition that individuals have the potential to develop a combination of 7 separate intelligences or spheres of intelligence. And these are linguistic, musical, logical, mathematical, visual, spatial, bodily kinesthetic, interpersonal, and intrapersonal. Here are some more modern pedagogical approach. First, we have open-ended instruction. Lessons are structured so that multiple complex answers are possible. Students are not simply steered toward one right answer. Integrated learning. Learning brings together content and skills from more than one subject area. Inquiry learning. Learning is directed by questions, problems, or challenges that students work to address. Differentiated instruction. Activities address a range of student learning styles, abilities, and readiness. Experiential learning. Authentic learning experiences are provided. We are using most, if not all, of these approaches today in our everyday teaching. Some more modern pedagogical approaches. We have cooperative learning. Group and cooperative learning strategies are a priority. Assessment and evaluation of student learning. Tools are provided that help students and teachers to capture formative and summative information about students' learning and performance. Peer teaching provides opportunities for students to actively present their knowledge and skills to peers and or act as teachers and mentors. And case studies through descriptions of real events from real situations that students use to explore concepts in an authentic context. Still on modern pedagogical approaches, we have distance learning. It is a method of study where teachers and students do not meet in classroom but use the internet, email, mail, etc. to have classes, according to Merriam-Webster. This is what we're applying in today's education situation. Online learning. It is when teachers or students use educational tools which are accessible on the internet. Online learning tools are often used to create blended learning environments in the classroom. It helps teachers save preparation time before class. Online learning, distance learning, what is the difference? In terms of location, online learning can include the use of online tools and platforms while still being in a regular classroom setting. In distance learning, it is remote and does not include any face-to-face interaction between student and teacher. Interaction. Online learning can include interaction with teachers and peers. Distance learning does not have in-person interaction. Intention. Online learning can be used as supplement for teachers in their courses. Distance learning replaces teachers with instruction that is preset on the learning platform. In teaching today in distance learning, technology plays a significant part. Now let's see the relationship of pedagogical approaches and technology as we try to apply flexibility in distance learning. For our illustration, we have pedagogical approaches to flexibility. Use pedagogical approaches to make the course more flexible. Use flexibility to apply pedagogical approaches. Pedagogical approaches to technology. Use technology to apply pedagogical approaches. Use pedagogical approaches to apply technology. Now we have flexibility to technology. Use technology as a tool to make the course more flexible. Use technology to implement chosen flexibility options. Another modern pedagogical approach is blended learning. It is also known as hybrid learning. It is a method of teaching that integrates technology and digital media with traditional instructor-led classroom activities, giving students more flexibility to customize their learning experiences. In some, learning happens online in a format where the student has control over the path and phase which they engage with content. Second, some learning happens in an instructor-led classroom. Third, online and in-person learning is complementary, creating a truly integrated learning environment. According to DepEd Secretary Leonor Mirasol Magtoles-Briones, blended education means the adoption or use of a combination of learning tools and methodologies such as online and offline tools, modules, and use of the television, radio, and the current digital platform called the DepEd Commons to achieve a particular objective. Briones said that this is nothing new as this has been used for decades and decades. Now we have adaptive learning or adaptive teaching. It is the delivery of custom learning experiences that address the unique needs of an individual through just-in-time feedback, pathways, and resources, rather than providing a one-size-fits-all learning. Here is the situation. An instructor is tutoring a student to help them understand a difficult concept. The student is having trouble, so walking them through the assignment instead of asking them to work alone. The instructor in the above example is adapting to the learner and therefore can call tutoring an adaptive learning experience. Adaptive learning technology aims to emulate and support, not replace, the talents of great educators to provide the best possible learning experience for every single student. It helps scale the benefits of adaptive learning to tons, hundreds, or thousands of students at a time. Methods of adaptivity. Designed adaptivity. A method of adaptivity in which an educator designs the expert teaching sequence to guide the learners toward content mastery. They drive how the lessons adapts feedback and content sequences in the lesson. Adaptations can occur based on a variety of factors called adaptivity factors. Algorithmic adaptivity, a method of adaptivity in which one or more algorithms answer the following two questions. What does the learner know? Second, what should the learner experience next? Based on those answers, the algorithm can select the right item at the right time for students as they learn. Adaptivity factors. We have performance, level of knowledge, content preferences, misconceptions, demographics, and other data sources. Learner information, profile, behaviors, and performance benchmarks that can be used to adapt learning experiences. Performance. Was the correct or incorrect answer was provided? How has the learner done across a series of tasks or lessons? Behaviors. How long did the learner take to complete the task? Information. Learner can share how confident they feel in material, content, type preference, or personal data to alter what happens next. Adaptables. These are the ways the lesson can adapt based on the learner's performance. Real-time feedback. Offer appropriate help when it is needed most. If students are being guided by a tutor looking over their shoulder. Differentiated pathways. Offer varying sequences of content to each student. Provide extra help to student for a particular concept before continuing to the next topic. Fast-track advanced learner or allow learners to decide what they learn next. Adaptive content. When a student answers a question, responding with feedback based on their specific response. This is an upgrade to questions correct or incorrect without explaining why. Adaptive sequence. Continuously collecting and analyzing student data to automatically change what a student sees next. From the order of skills, a student works on the type of content received. Adaptive assessment. Changing the questions a student sees based on his or her response to the previous questions. The difficulty of the questions will increase as a student answers them accurately, while if the student struggles, the questions get easier. The uncertainty brought about the COVID-19 pandemic taught us to be adaptable and flexible to be able to fulfill our mission as the frontliners of education. And our focus should not draw out from our goals, just like what Ed and Deb Shapiro shared. The water of a river adapts to whatever route is available. Learn to shift with the changing times as you keep sight of where you are going. Thank you very much for listening, and to God be the glory and honor.